Good morning, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion for September 15, 2019, recorded around 8:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tropical storm Humberto has continued to move off towards the west-northwest overnight, but is remaining very disorganized. You can see in the cloud patterns that there's a very disorganized look with the center somewhere roughly in about here. But a very overall disheveled look to it. This is still heavily weighted on the eastern fringes of the system, and even more inclement weather moving into portions of the Albico Islands here. Something that is not needed, but a very large convective blow up here on the southern side. And this is kind of one of the things that's really hindering Humberto from strengthening further, is that there is a little bit of competing factor that this convection action to the south is generating its own outflow, which is a little bit moving this southerly shear into the system. And you can see, here you can see some of that shear that is being impacted, and this outflow here on the southern side is being restricted. If we go to the visible satellite here, this is from tropicals.com, and you can see that southerly flow is being a little bit obstructed here, mainly by this convective blow-up over here. This convective blow-up that's moving into portions of the southern albicos here is causing a little bit of disruption in the shear pattern for the system, and as such, this is being affected by a pretty decent amount of shear, about 25 to 30 knots of shear so far on Humberto, which is keeping most of the convection off to the eastern side of it, and also is allowing some drier land air to filter into the system. And as such, this has not been able to strengthen as much tonight and over the overnight hours, and so far this morning only maximum sustained winds have increased to about 60 miles per hour as it's continued to slowly move off towards the towards the northwest here at a very slow rate of speed. You can see, for the most part, the Florida Peninsula is mainly dry, and that is mainly due to there's just a lot of restriction from any of the rain bands that are coming in. And we can take a look here at the Cod Meteorology website. You can see there is some rain bands that are trying to filter in here, but a lot of dry air does reside sort of over the Florida Peninsula, and that has kind of hindered a lot of the showers from making its way onshore. And with the rotating nature of these will continue to sort of dip down into portions of the Florida East Coast and Florida Peninsula during the day today, causing some gusty winds, especially along the immediate coast. Rip currents especially going to be a big threat across portions of the Florida East Coast here along the beaches. Definitely some beach erosion will be possible. Not really expecting any storm surge issues for these regions. There's no storm surge threat. So just some rip currents, high tides, stuff like that for the people along the Florida East Coast. There may be some tropical storm force gusts within some of these squalls, usually about 30-40 miles per hour, but that's not really anything out of the norm from a typical thunderstorm day here in Florida. So really not expecting a whole lot of impacts, just a couple passing showers. It could be gusty at times, but not expecting a whole lot. We are watching this dry air still that's kind of pouring in on this side from the landmass, and that is really continuing to hinder the development, as eventually this is going to move really slowly and then take a hard right turn off towards the northeast here. And you can see here, this is the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. And you can see still by 2 p.m. Monday, this hasn't really moved all that much. This is a really slow mover. It is still expected to be a hurricane by tomorrow, by later tonight or tomorrow. Maximum sustained winds at about 60 miles per hour right now, but you can really see this isn't expected to move a lot, and then eventually it will kind of get the boot out here. We have to watch for folks here in Bermuda. We get to the full forecast here. You can see Bermuda will definitely have to watch for this system, and then eventually it tries to move more towards the north and east here as it does. But we are watching a couple of factors here. There is a high pressure region out here that might be able to slide in a little bit quicker, and some of the ensemble members last night from the EPS and the GFS and the UK Met model even have suggested that this may actually sit here and stall over this region. So we'll have to continue to monitor the exact progress of this system over the next couple of days. Again, it's mainly dependent on this big high pressure region out here and exactly how much this high pressure region out here will start to abate. Again, we are watching for that benchmark turn to start occurring later today, and exactly where that turns we will just have to see. So again, there's a lot of factors that are playing into this. Again, for the most part though, for people along the Florida East Coast, just some passing showers today, maybe some gusty winds, 30-40 miles per hour in some of these squalls that do rotate on by. The main center is way out here away from land, so no tangible impacts to Florida at this current time, or really any of the southeast United States, besides swells that will start to radiate out during the day today and tomorrow and lasting for the next several days. So again, an overall disheveled look from Humberto this morning. Not really seeing much in the way of organization there. The center is becoming a little bit more exposed again to this dry air and shear. There's still around 25 to 30 knots of deep layer shear in the system, so it is pretty unfavorable for the most part. And that shear is expected to continue for the next several days before this eventually turns a hard right towards the northeast, and then eventually it will become a poleward shear, which will actually increase the outflow in the system. And one thing to note real quick, you can sort of see that outflow being extended on the northern side of the system. You can see the outflow trying to crank here, but is restricted a lot to the south here because of this big convective blowup is actually forcing its own outflow, which is kind of cranking this way and is sort of restricting the outflow of Humberto on the southern side, allowing some of this drier air and shear to sort of be forced into the system, and that is not really abated quite yet. So once we get this turn more of this hard right turn towards the northeast, this will actually become a poleward shear vector, which will increase the outflow and allow this to possibly strengthen in a rapid succession here nearing Bermuda. So again, we'll have to watch for folks here in Bermuda. We'll also have to watch exactly when that turn happens. For the most part though, for the southeastern United States and Florida, just some swells radiating outward. Rip currents though, those can still kill people, so please pay attention to your local beach officials and local emergency management for more specific details for your area. So again, we're just watching Humberto today. I will have another video discussion out for the 11 o'clock advisory. That's going to do it for all. That is going to do it for me for right now. I will see you back at the 11 o'clock advisory. Stay safe, everyone.